Ubisoft, I saw this the other day. This is pretty funny. They are having a really bad time with the new the new Assassin's Creed and Star Wars Outlaws. It's been real bad.
So here's a funny one. Assassin's Creed Shadows boss claims DEI is killing game. Not only doubles down on it, but also attacks critics.
Of course.
That Park Place writing, Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed boss, Mark Alexis Coty, right when I finally learned how to pronounce Yves Guillemot, they give me a whole new one to get wrong.
Yeah.
Anyone wanted to tell me the pronunciation for this, I'd appreciate it. Admitted that the company's injection of DEI into Assassin's Creed Shadows is harming the game's potential, but declared that he plans to double down on it and even attack his critics. So yeah, just a little more info. That's this guy, programmer and level designer at Ubisoft Quebec, currently serving as the vice president executive producer for the entire Assassin's Creed franchise. As reported by Eurogamer, that guy made an appearance at a BAFTA event where he shared that discussions of Ubisoft's DEI policies, quote, can influence how our games are perceived, but rather than shy away from those conversations, we should see them as an opportunity, unquote. From there, he attempted to gaslight people in attendance by stating, quote, Assassin's Creed has always been about exploring the full spectrum of human history.
Of course.
By its very nature, that history is diverse. Staying true to history means embracing the richness of human perspectives without compromise. For example, in Assassin's Creed Shadows, we highlight figures both fictional, like Naui, a Japanese woman warrior, and historical, like Yasuke, the African-born samurai. While the inclusion of a black samurai in feudal Japan has sparked questions and even controversy, Naui, as a fictional character, has also faced scrutiny for her gender. But just as Yasuke's presence in Japanese history is fact, so too are the stories of women who...
I don't know about that. I feel like the person that they quoted or they said was the person that they were like referring to as like, yeah, this is our reference. Wasn't that guy outed as a total fraud? Like, there's one source, and the source was using itself as a source secondarily on Wikipedia? Yeah, the guy was a total fucking fraud. What are we talking about?
Societal expectations and took up arms in times of conflict. So while both Naui and Yasuke's stories are works of historical fiction, they reflect the collision of different worlds, cultures, and roles.
Wait. But as Yasuke's presence in Japanese history is fact, so while both Yasuke's stories are works of historical fiction. I mean, to be fair, there is a difference in those two sentences, but it's a little bit confusing.
Their inclusion is precisely the kind of narrative that Assassin's Creed seeks to tell, one that reflects the complexity and interconnectedness of our shared history.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't seen anyone take an issue with Naui. All the critiques that I've seen of AC Shadows regarding the characters is specifically directed at Yasuke, and that's because of the whole historical inaccuracies thing. In my opinion, this statement seems like the guy's trying to muddy the waters, so to speak. Like, he's not acknowledging the issues that people have with Yasuke and the historical inaccuracies and all that.
This is always what happens, is that this is one of the best ways to address criticism, is to completely muddy the waters and totally misrepresent what's actually happening. It's a really, really great strategy. And this is what happens constantly. It's deflect, yeah. A game of this? This is Risk of Rain 7.
Stuff. Instead, he's trying to act like people's issue with Yasuke is simply that they don't want diversity in games. And again, they use this word very disingenuously, in my opinion. Then also trying to apply the same thing to Naui and then rolling both those arguments together into one disingenuous bad faith pie. It's always been diverse,
I agree.
He said, and this isn't new ground for the franchise. From Altair to Aveline, we've consistently introduced protagonists from diverse racial, ethnics, and gender identities. History is inherently diverse, and so is Assassin's Creed and the stories we tell. So to be clear...
I don't know. I mean, like, about history being inherently diverse, I feel like... I bet if you probably went back 500 years, I would say a lot of cultures were probably very, like one race of people. Like, I probably would have assumed that. I mean, I'm sure there's, like, going to be exceptions. Of course, there's always exceptions. But I feel like in a lot of cases that, very like a monoculture. Yeah, homogenous cultures. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what do you mean? Because, I mean, the reason why is just simply because of travel. Like, the reason why now, like, it's easier to have diversity is because it's easier for a person who, like, was from Africa to come over to California. Whereas, like, 500 years ago, it wasn't as easy. It's easy for somebody from China to go to America. Back then, it probably wasn't as easy. It's just, like, common sense.
Our commitment to inclusivity is grounded in historical authenticity and respect for diverse perspectives, not driven by modern agendas. That's rich coming from the people who will literally butcher history specifically to try and shoehorn in Yasuke as a character that they want, which is also insulting to Yasuke, by the way. They're basically saying, like, what we factually know about him is not good enough. They gotta write their headcanon and try to present it as fact. Next, he attacked critiques of Ubisoft's diversity and inclusion policies, which he is clearly an advocate for, saying, alongside these deep-rooted franchise values is our commitment to recognize and listen to legitimate criticism as an essential part of the creative process.
I think that people that are, like Ubisoft had basically what Blizzard had happen to them. They had it happen a few years before Blizzard had it happen. And it kind of flew under the radar because it wasn't as big as Blizzard's situation. But a lot of the Ubisoft's policies here are a reaction to them basically almost like losing their company because of how bad employees were treated there. So, like, let's not get up on a soapbox and talk about, oh, how much you care about this stuff if this stuff only managed to happen right after you went through, like, a fucking Rapture level lawsuit.
Our community helps us grow, evolve, and deliver better games. Today, we all, however, face the added challenge of distinguishing between genuine feedback and attacks driven by intolerance, he said. These people are so...
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it's genuine feedback or an attack driven by intolerance. If it results in you losing a sale, the outcome is the same. And this is what a lot of people don't understand, is that they have a... they put, like, a very strong, like, what's the word for this? Like a moral benchmark on, like, what their opinions are, and they say because we have these good opinions, like, everybody needs to, like, see the world the same way that we do. But the truth is that there's, like, a righteousness to it, but, like, there isn't actually a power ranking in the real world. There's not. Yeah, rewriting history is intolerant. Well, it's more than that. It's that it doesn't, like, if there's a lot of people, for example, like, if you're making a game and you want to sell it in the Middle East, and it's in one of the countries that's, like, very, very anti-LGBT, and your game has that in it, you're going to have a lot of people that aren't going to like that game. And you can call them all bigots, you can call them all bad or whatever you want, but it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, you're not going to sell the game. That's all there is to it.
Such creeps. They just lie about this stuff and openly gaslight. They pretend like they care about all these things, but for them it's all about ESG score and money. The current climate is tough on our creative teams. They face lies, half-truths, and personal attacks online. When the work they pour their hearts into is twisted into a symbol of division, it's not just disheartening, it can be devastating.
I'm sure, here's the thing, is that I'm sure it sucks if you're, like, working at one of these companies and you have a bunch of people hating on you and criticizing you and shitting on you. Like, I can easily be like, yeah, bro, like, I can totally get this must really suck. Absolutely. It's the same as, like, anytime, like, a lot of you guys, like, I can put myself in the shoes of somebody like Hassan, right? Or, like, or people can probably look and, like, be like, yeah, when it happens to me, or, like, Ethan Klein or Destiny or somebody else that gets a lot of hate, like Tectone. Like, you can put yourself in that person's shoes and be like, yeah, this probably really sucks that a lot of people are saying this about you. For sure it sucks. But, like, that's just the way it is. And if you're in the kitchen, if you're cooking, if you're in the arena, you're fighting, you're going to have people that are going to complain. And that's what's going to happen. If you don't like it, get out of the fucking kitchen. That's the way I see it.
I know that this man is ready to get his soy latte after this speech. What keeps me going is the resilience born out of conviction that I see in our teams every day. I'm especially proud of the Shadows team for staying true to their creative vision and the core tenets of Assassin's Creed. By choosing Naui and Yasuke as protagonists, we are expanding the narrative landscape, offering new points of view that challenge established norms found in many works of fiction, while staying true to the history that shaped...
I mean, like, I don't think that people have a problem with challenging established norms, but I don't think that challenging established norms is a good thing, and it's not a bad thing. It really depends on what the norm is that you're challenging. Who asked for that challenge? Yeah, exactly. You're challenging history. Yeah, it's a very, very weird outlook on things. All those people are going to have no jobs? Yeah. There's a good chance that's going to happen.
At the end of the day, Assassin's Creed is not just a franchise. It's a platform for entertainment, dialogue, discovery, and understanding. Our commitment isn't just about reflecting on the past, it's about ensuring that the stories we tell continue to unite, inspire, and
I actually do wish that they would focus a little bit more on the historical context of things because, like, maybe this was just me growing up, but my mom was really positive about me playing Age of Empires 2 because it had real history in it. And I felt like that was really cool. And growing up, like, I look back on that and I think, wow, that was actually really badass. So I do hope that they play more of a focus on actually trying to make things that were historical be accurate. I'm not saying one to one, right? The same as like, I mean, as far as I know, like a Shelby Cobra with a machine gun didn't really happen in like actual medieval Europe, right? But it's a video game, so of course you're going to have some differences.
challenge players, regardless of their background, and will continue to stand by these values because they're central to the heart of the franchise, and I
Yeah.
believe to the future of storytelling itself. Ultimately, we believe that the diversity and
These values are absolutely not. They are not central to the future of storytelling. They're not. These are a modern invention that people have convinced themselves are important. No, this is not in this. You don't need this in storytelling.
richness of the human experience is what helps Assassin's Creed resonate with players across the globe, and we're committed to standing firm on that foundation. I find it hilarious that he talks about people all across the globe, when all across the globe, people refer to Ubisoft as Ubislop, and they've especially managed to get like the entire country of Japan to absolutely hate them. He then doubled down on this idea that Assassin's Creed is
I don't think the entire country of Japan hates them, but I could see a lot of I don't know like what actual Japanese people think about this because in a lot of cases the people that were like typing in Japanese were just Americans that Google translated what they said into Japanese. So like it's hard really for me to say, but I could see how at least some of them probably don't like it. I mean, it's easy to assume, especially with like some of the like really just kind of ignorant cultural appropriation. Like, for example, like selling that, like, what was the half thing that was like destroyed by the nuclear bomb? Like, what was it called again? It's like a Japanese word. I don't remember exactly what it was. Torigate. Yeah. The like one, like the one leg Torigate. Like selling that, like it's just super culturally insensitive, super cultural appropriation, like unironically, right? And like I could see Japanese people being offended by that. Yeah. You literally watch videos of Japanese people reacting to this? Yeah, but a sample size of 2 isn't really what I would determine what a country thinks on, right? Like, yeah, it's not really a great way of looking at it.
not a game, but something else altogether. Gosh, these people are lame as heck. Assassin's Creed is more than... He really says it. Oh my gosh, bro. Assassin's Creed is more than just a game.
Yeah.
It can be a platform for meaningful exploration and reflection wrapped in the excitement of unforgettable gameplay. And it's that fusion of creativity, diversity, immersion, and fun that continues to define the franchise and connect it with players around the globe. I
Oh,
might
I hope
actually die
so.
of cringe before I finish this article. It might really happen, but I'll try. Next, he paints himself and Ubisoft as... Oh yeah, I'm gonna die. It's over.
Okay, here we
He
go.
paints himself and Ubisoft as victims. Yeah, this massive corporation, they're just a bunch of victims to these individual gamers. Those gamers are so terrifying. We gotta help the corpos. This
I
reminds
think that any time that you demonize your fan base and you demonize people that are giving you criticism, a lot of times you end up doing yourself a disservice and pushing people even farther away. And I think when you're building a product and you're trying to sell that product, every single person's feedback is important, even if you don't agree with it. So like there's always going to be a lot of people that aren't going to like what you're doing creatively. Like for example, Fight Club, whenever it first was premiered, people booed the movie. There's always going to be people that don't like things that are perceived as good, and vice versa. There's people that thought Elden Ring was bad. That doesn't really mean that like you should focus on them and make them the core of what you're talking about.
me of that Sweet Baby Inc. stuff that I just talked about yesterday, where they also were playing victim and were like trying to beg corporations and like government and institutions to protect them from individual gamers. I really don't know how anyone could live their lives like this. I say lame all the time with these people. I mean, it's the perfect word in my opinion. These are like
Yeah.
the lamest people ever. How are they happy with themselves? How do they accept this as like the lives that they really live? Bunch of corpos acting like they're the biggest victims of all time. These people have so much.
I think that like to them it is like this is gonna maybe be like kind of something that people might have trouble like accepting, but as somebody who's been the target of a lot of online hate and I've seen a lot of other people deal with it, I can easily see how a person, especially like, you know, for example, like if you're a streamer, like you're kind of signing up for that, right? But like if you're working on making a video game, maybe you're not necessarily doing that. Like this never even really occurred to you. It's like some like tertiary effect that's like way downstream of like what your actual job is. So I can easily see how like it's going to fucking bother you a lot to have this happen as like a random person that's like working in, you know, a company, right? Definitely I can see how that happens. It's easy to empathize with a person like that, even though it's like, I'm not even saying they're right. I'm just saying I can understand why you're upset. I think that's very fair to do.
Power and money backing them. The stories we tell, the characters we create, the game worlds we build are instrumentalized by those
yeah, I
who
think
seek
so too.
to silence creativity, to stoke fear, and incite hatred.
The game world is influenced by those who seek to silence creativity. Wait, what?
I believe we are facing what CNN anchor Fareed Zakaria calls an age of revolution, a time when the real conflict is not between the left and the right, but between societies that close themselves off and those that open themselves up to the world. Throughout history, it's the open societies that have always eventually prevailed. While there may be setbacks over the years or even decades, it is openness that has continually pushed humanity forward.
Yeah, well, I think this is the problem, is that these people are closed-minded and they think that they're the ones that are being open-minded. You don't need to be so open-minded that your brain falls out. That's the problem. There's nothing wrong with being open-minded. I think that's good. And I think this person they're correct, by the way. Like, it is true that cultures and societies that have been more forward-thinking, and like this is like you have to look at it abstractly and not look at it through the lens of like racial diversity. Like you look at it through the lens of like religious, religious rights, or you look at it through the lens of especially scientific regulation. Like every society that was like anti-science in history was seen as being bad. And they basically don't exist anymore, or they've changed. So it's extremely true. But it's just being interpreted in a way that's completely one-dimensional.
Yap, man. Like, Ubisoft will do literally anything.
That's another way to say it.
Game nowadays. This echoes the...
I love how, like, this is the way it is. Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Sure.
The selfless bravery of our Assassin's Creed protagonists. They fought for freedom, knowledge, and the right to chart their own paths, just as we,
echoes of selfless bravery,
as creators, fight to tell stories that matter in a world that grows increasingly divided.
And this is the problem, is that, like, you know, this person thinks that they're like some kind of a revolutionary whenever they're saying something like this. I don't think that you're really doing anybody any favors by doing this. And I think that the biggest problem, and I think that what a lot of people have issue with, is when people try to do something bad, and then they want a pat on the back for it, and they want to be seen as being virtuous for doing the bad thing. I think that's what's really happening here, and that's why it's so frustrating and annoying, is that a lot of people can kind of see how this actually creates a lot more division, but like it's like the self-righteous virtue signaling that I think alienates way more people than it brings over. Because like what they were saying before about how like, societies and cultures that were open to change were historically seen as the good societies that advanced. This is factually true. And it's been factually true for 1,000 years. Why did they call it the Dark Ages? You know, pretty fucking easy to say. And so, like, I think that it's true, but like, I don't think these people realize that they're actually being the agents of being reductive to that goal and not supportive towards it. I think their actions, like they're trying to be supportive, but they're actually not trying to be supportive. They're trying to sell a product and look like they're the good guys. And being supportive is a pleasant secondary effect, but it's certainly not the goal. They mainly care about making money and virtue signaling. And doing something good is, you know, maybe a serendipitous outcome, but it's certainly not the goal.
divided. As the authors of How Democracies Die so powerfully stated, democracies crumble when good people decide to stay silent. The same is true, I think, of our creative freedom when we allow fear to stifle our voices. When we self-center in the face of threats, we hand over our power, piece by piece, until freedom and creativity both wither away.
I think that that's true. And the problem is that, like, you're right, but here's the issue. When they release this game, and like maybe this game will sell well, it's hard to say. There's been like a lot of noise around the game, so I could see it probably selling well anyway. But if they release this game and then a lot of people don't buy the game, like what seems to be the case with Dragon Age, just based off of like Steam numbers, etc., but of course it's always a guess. It doesn't really matter like how democracies die, self-centering in the face of threats, handing over power. All of these like self-aggrandizement notions immediately fall by the wayside when you don't have money to pay payroll. And then you have to cut people and you have to close the studio. Like what happened with Concord. That's the big issue. I might be wrong, but I think the biggest issue is the fact that they call names and try to guilt trip anyone who doesn't want to buy their product. Yeah, like you're not a freedom fighter because you're trying to like capitalize on like, you know, like World War II, you know, like what do you call it? Like, you know, indications of like the nuclear bomb and like sell products based off of it. Like you're not handing over power. You're not promoting democracy by doing that. You're just trying to like use Japanese culture as a way to make money. And like, that's fine. You want to do that? Okay, go ahead and do that. But don't expect everybody to like roll out the red carpet and tell you that you're a good person for it. I think that's what's really weird.
Cannot let that happen. It's time for us as creators to stand firm on our commitment to our values by telling stories that inspire, that challenge, and help people connect. Our silence cannot become complicit.
Our silence cannot become complicit. Again, there's no, like, you know who, you want to hear a studio that's really silent right now? Firewalk Studios. The people that made Concord. The entire thing got shut down. So if you want to stand by your values, listen, if you want to ride your ship to the bottom of the ocean, go ahead and do it. But don't, whenever you get there, blame somebody else. There's an issue with creating unique art, but they're selling it to us? Yeah, exactly. Like, they can do whatever they want, but they shouldn't expect, like, you have the right to make whatever you want. You don't have the right to make everybody else accept it.
This dude is some rich corpo, and he's acting like he's oppressed.
Yeah,
how extremely obnoxious.
He's a revolutionary.
He then issued his closing statement saying,
okay, here we go.
To our players, the ones who have stood by us, supported us, and celebrated our work over the years with enthusiasm and constructive feedback, this stance is for you. You are the heart of our journey. We create for you, and your support fuels our creativity and strengthens our resolve to keep pushing boundaries, to tell stories that matter. This journey is yours as much as it is ours, and I thank you for being with us every step of the way. I'm an optimist and a dreamer, and I believe that the answer to hate is to continue creating experiences that celebrate the richness of our world and capture the magic of our collective imagination. Because in the end, creativity is stronger than fear, and together we are creating the future of entertainment, he concluded. I am so glad.
This is the future of entertainment. Man. Bro, like, this guy... Oh my God. Wow. I hope not. Yeah, that's crazy. What a sad future. I don't know what to say.
Glad that's over. I don't need to read any more quotes from this guy. Just reading like 10 minutes of his nonsense was enough for me.
Bro, this guy thinks he's like one of the... This is like the kind of person that like thinks the French Revolutions was like against all the rich people, when in fact the French Revolution was just the nobility killing the the aristocrats and like oligarchs killing the royalty. It was just like basically meet the new boss, same as the old boss. But like they have no actual like historical like knowledge of this, and so they only see it through like this really weird like contrived modern lens that's completely devoid of any historical context, and like they think that they're like, yeah, this is what I do. Like, no, it's not. Stop it. Napoleon took over. Yeah, and they sell a product and focus on social messaging instead of product quality, yeah. And I mean, like, if you want to make a product that's focused on social messaging, that's totally fine. But I think that the issue that a lot of people have is that they don't want to be demonized and talked down to when they don't want to pursue or like buy a product and then be told that they're like a bad person for it. I think it's mainly like the emotional blackmail that a lot of it kind of creates and it precipitates. And I think that that's really what a lot of people don't like more than anything else. Metaphor did it? Well, there's a lot of games that see the games that cover and like go over complex like social issues. They don't need to talk about how good they are for doing it. They just do it. Like Kojima didn't have to go on like a rant about how important it was for him to say, you know, what he said in Metal Gear Solid and like defend himself and everything. He just put it out there. And like also like we've been using Metaphor a lot as an example because it's been, you know, a really popular recent game. But there's a lot of other games that do this as well. Like, you want to know one of the really good examples that like a lot of people, like a lot of us probably didn't remember because we were like probably in high school, maybe like college when it happened. But like Gears of War really covered a lot of topics like this. And it was really, really good. I loved it. It was amazing. And you had things like, obviously, you know, Metal Gear Solid is a great example of it. And then you have other games like Final Fantasy XIV, and they cover all kinds of complex, like political and social issues all the time. And the idea that this is some sort of like groundbreaking thing that you've chosen to do this thing that nobody else has done, which is talk about a social issue in a video game. No, the reason why you're getting hate isn't because you're talking about a social issue. It's because you're doing it in a way that's patronizing and it's not enjoyable and people don't like it. It's just, I really wish more people would see it that way. They did it wrong. Yeah, look at Metal Gear Solid Revengeance. Remember that? Like, oh, or Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. Like, yeah, I think that's a little bit political, right? And so, I mean, you basically have, I mean, Sundowner, look, it's Dick Cheney. Everybody knows this. Like, you just fucking look at him. It's Dick fucking Cheney. Like, and you look at Senator Armstrong, that's a lot like, you know, Richard Nixon. You know, like, what are we talking about? Yeah, Deus Ex? Yeah, exactly. And so the whole idea that this is some kind of like forbidden thing and that they're like fighting against like some, like they're shadow boxing this like cabal of like racists and homophobes and like people that are reductive to society, like this is total moral masturbation. It's not real. It's not happening. It never was happening. People just don't like how you're doing it. They don't like, it's not that they don't like what you're doing. They don't like how you're doing it. My sources that I made it the fuck up. Yeah, there you go. Am I out of touch? No, it's the customers who are wrong. Yeah, there's a lot of companies that thought that. We don't really remember their names anymore because they're not companies, but, you know, back in the day there were.
Can't imagine actually being that dude and thinking like this all the time. Thank you all for tuning in. Let me know what you think about his statement regarding Assassin's Creed and Ubisoft and all that. And thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed my coverage, please consider liking or subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.
What is a parody?
Oh no. Oh no.
According to the dictionary,
I need to watch this fucking video. I haven't seen it yet, but apparently somebody actually played all the way through Dustborn.
So here's,
and I just haven't had the I haven't had the willpower to watch the entire thing. Let me go ahead and link you the video. I saw this Ubisoft thing, but I didn't really know what to expect out of it. Oh my god, it's just as cringe and annoying as I would have ever imagined. It's just, it's more cringe than I would have imagined. I didn't think that this person would go out on a soapbox and act like they were a revolutionary by making a video game that culturally appropriated, like, you know, like Japanese cultural icons from like a mass killing. Like, I didn't expect them to do. I didn't expect them to reveal that high of a power level of delusion. Always lecturing, yeah, always lecturing. It's crazy. As a French Canadian, I'm truly sorry, man. Yeah, you need to be. I'm gonna be real. Like, there's, you know what? I don't know what the fuck they're doing up there. Yeah, what is it? Excuse me. Hey. It's a game about a stage in history that involved 99% Japanese men. Yeah, I guess so, right? And it's not delusion, it's evil. I don't think it's evil, right? It's just that I don't really agree with it, and I think it's bad. I don't even think that these people are evil. I just think that they're dumb and self-absorbed. I really don't think they're like bad people. I don't think that they're like evil. I don't think they're trying to like destroy the world. I just think that all they're doing is they're trying to take advantage of a type of like thinking and just go and, put themselves out there and look like they're a good person. That's basically about it. Willfully ignorant? Yeah, exactly. Let the release of the game and see what it's like. They already had the courage to postpone the release. They released amazing games in the past. People are coping because of 2 bad releases. Is it only been 2 bad releases? I feel like, I'm going to be real, I feel like it's been way more than 2 bad releases. It's been a lot.